Welcome back to the Okanagan Reader. I'm your host, Jim Bowering. Today's reading is Chapter 8.2 of Green Comet, the first book in the Green Comet trilogy. Chapter 8 is an hour long, so I've broken it up into 4 parts. In this part, after his surprise meeting with a group of children, Elgin is confronted by adults who have different ideas. He also has to deal with the feelings brought on by seeing the statues. I won't be making readings for the next couple of days. Life intervenes. Meanwhile, that will give you time to subscribe to the Okanagan Reader channel and to like this video. Here we go then.
Elgin was smiling. It still showed the joy the children had given him, but it was filling up with melancholy. He glanced at Minder, then turned to gaze at the statues. "Children, eh?" he said. "They get right to the point, don't they?" Minder didn't speak. He just stood shoulder to shoulder with him looking at the statues, trying to assimilate all the new revelations. He thought he knew about Elgin and Francis even more than everyone else. Maybe it was time to examine that assumption. "I noticed," said Elgin, "that all of the children had legs. Is that a pretty good indicator of how rarely people make it a heritable trait?" "Yes," Minder confirmed. "So far it's less than 5%, so 0 out of 20 is a reasonable sample." "You said it was increasing, though?" "Yes, most of us have it done during our first sleep, so it's only a matter of time. And there doesn't seem to be any advantage to having legs for the first 20 years either. I think we've reached a kind of phase transition on that one." "But they all had the bioluminescence, which makes sense since you said it's heritable now." His voice trailed away as he drifted in for a close look at the statues. They were life-sized. At least they weren't monumental, Elgin thought. He couldn't imagine what it would be like if the statues towered over everything. It was embarrassing enough to have them here at all. "What are they made out of?" He thought of metal of some kind, since any ice, even water ice, wouldn't hold up here, where the temperature was almost at the melting point of water. "Bronze," said Minder, "very traditional." "Did they find copper and tin here?" "No, the materials came with the migration." "But those are limited resources. They're only supposed to be used when absolutely necessary." People decided it was necessary. The vote was nearly unanimous. But still, for statues? Sometimes symbolism is a necessity. The people wanted to honor their heroes, and they wanted to use up valuable resources to do so. Minder went up and put his hand on the chest of the bronze Elgin. It was obvious that he wasn't the first. Both statues had a polished, nearly worn look to them. "People need to be able to come here and touch you, Elgin." "Humph." Elgin tried to stay stern, but he couldn't hide a little glimmer of pleasure. All the years of scrimping and fiercely guarding their resources ingrained in him a certain abhorrence of waste. Maybe he'd have to learn to define waste differently now. "I don't know about being a statue. That will take some getting used to. But if the people think it's worthwhile, then I'll learn to live with it." "I'm sure the people will be relieved to hear that," Minder said with a little smirk. "All right, enough of that," Elgin laughed. Then he remembered the third statue and got a shock when he looked at it. "What's he doing here?" The third statue was standing off a few meters, oriented to be looking at the first two. Elgin was sure it was looking at Francis, but it had its head slightly bowed, and there was a look of acceptance about it. It was Nigel, Fran's greatest adversary. "What's he doing here?" "Well," said Minder, "he's a hero too." "A hero? He fought against her every step of the way. He was opposed to her plan. How can they both be heroes?" "Well..." Minder was extremely uncomfortable. He really didn't want to be the one to explain this to Elgin, so he was glad of an interruption. "Elgin?" came a voice from behind them. "Sir, are you Elgin?" They turned and saw a group of half a dozen people clustered deferentially some distance from the grouping of statues. They were obviously at pains to not be intruding. Minder moved forward, unconsciously protective. "Can we help you?" There were 4 men and 2 women. One of the men spoke for the group. "We're talking to Elgin, not you, armful." Minder was shocked speechless. Elgin had never heard the term armful before, but he could tell it wasn't meant to be friendly. "Hey now," he said, coming to Minder's defense. Minder turned and held up his hand. "It's all right. I'll take care of it." He had seen the symbol of two comets they all wore on their chests, and now he knew who they were. Elgin saw his firm resolve and decided to let him take charge. He thought it might be interesting. Minder turned back to the Franciscans. The icon they wore was a representation of two separated comets. It was symbolic of the great sacrifice that must be made for the greater good. They wore it to show their devotion to Francis, the focus of their theology. Minder adopted a placating tone. "Elgin is still recovering from hibernation," he said. "This is the first time he's been out since waking up. Maybe this isn't the best time." "Do you speak for Elgin?" asked the man, taking offense on Elgin's behalf. "Why don't you just move aside?" They began to shove past him. Minder tried to throw himself in front of all of them at once, but they manhandled him out of the way. Seeing his helpless desperation, Elgin barked, "Hold on now!" The scuffling stopped. "Let him go! Back off!" Elgin pulled Minder out of the crowd while the Franciscans backed away, their faces a confusion of emotions. He saw a strange mixture of reverence and fear, rapture and loathing. He held them back with a flick of his eyes while he pulled Minder away. He put the statues between them before he spoke to Minder. "What's going on? Who are these people?" Minder was blushing. He found it hard to meet Elgin's eyes. "I'm sorry. I had no idea this was going to happen." "But what is it? What's happening?" Minder looked at the small mob, shaking his head. "This was something else I had to tell you. I was waiting for the right time, but I guess that's now." Elgin glanced suspiciously around the wing of his own statue. "Are you saying this is about me somehow?" "Yes," said Minder, his head drooping. "Although more accurately it's about Francis." Elgin tensed up and Minder hurried on. "It's nothing bad, really," he said hastily. "They actually like Francis." As Elgin relaxed, he added, "They like her a lot. They worship her, really." Elgin smiled. "Lots of people worship her," he said. "Well, these ones literally worship her. They call themselves Franciscans. She's their saint." Elgin didn't register it right away. He heard the words. He knew what they meant, but the concept was so far out of context for him that he didn't understand what he was hearing. He just looked at Minder blankly. "It's a new theology, Elgin, and Francis is the basis of it." "Saint?" whispered Elgin. "Yes," admitted Minder. "There's a church founded on Francis?" "Yes. Actually, it's not just her." Minder's blush flared, and he added warily, "You're a saint, too." Elgin's mouth opened, but nothing came out. He noticed and clapped it shut again. He looked at Minder's face and found no humor there. He looked at the people on the other side of the statues and, now that he knew, thought he could see signs of religious zeal there. Looking back at Minder, he finally saw how miserable he looked. "So, you knew about this?" "Yes, everyone knows about the Franciscans." "Franciscans." Elgin frowned. He hated to think of what this would do to Francis if she knew. His protective instinct flared at the thought. "You were going to tell me, but what with everything else, you put it off, right?" "That's right," murmured Minder. "I never thought we'd run into any. I thought nothing much could happen if we went to the square for an hour." Minder mercifully stopped before he could start to babble. And he was puzzled to see Elgin grinning. "What could possibly go wrong, eh?" He patted Minder's arm. "Never mind, I'm not laughing at you. That's just an old engineer's joke." Minder laughed weakly. "I'm really sorry, Elgin. I must seem to be screwing up one thing after another." "Don't worry about it, son. Once again, I don't think you handled it wrong. This is just one of those things." He looked at the group of people. Franciscans? They obviously didn't know Francis. Saint Elgin? He barked a laugh. They obviously didn't know him either. "I'm going to talk to them." "No, wait!" "It's all right. I think I can handle it. But that's my job, my responsibility. I'm your Minder." "I know that, and I don't want to step on your toes or take anything away from you, but I'm a grown man. I think I've recovered enough from hibernation disorientation by now, and there are some things a man has to take care of for himself." Minder agreed reluctantly. He knew Elgin was right about that. It might be his job as Minder, but it was Elgin's right as a citizen of Green Comet to deal with his own problems. They nodded and moved out from behind the statues. Elgin glided up to the huddle, while Minder hung back a couple of body lengths. Elgin addressed the group. "Hello, I'm Elgin. I believe you wanted to talk to me?" The same man moved forward, obviously assuming the role of representative, and one of the women fell in just behind one of his shoulders. They all clasped their hands in front of their breasts. "Oh, Elgin," said the man, "protector and champion of Francis, take pity on your humble servants and grant us your blessing." They stared at him, expressions of awe and servitude, some real and some practiced, filling their faces. Elgin got hold of himself before he could snort, but he couldn't be sure that nothing showed in his face. He replied quietly, "And lover." They were brought up short. The spell they were under wavering slightly. "Pardon?" said the man. "You forgot lover. I was Francis's protector and champion and lover. That's important." The man was struck speechless. The woman looked disgusted and furious. The rest of them looked at each other, and there was a buzz of voices. The man recovered first. "Will you grant us your blessing?" he asked. "That depends," said Elgin, feeling the beginnings of a rebellious uprising inside him. He looked them over, slowly and thoroughly, not bothered at all by their growing discomfort. "I notice that you all have legs," he said. He was thinking of what they called Minder. "Why, of course," said the man, supported by an upwelling of affirmation behind him. They were surprised that he would bring it up. "We keep our bodies in the form God made them, in the form of the saints." "Is that why you insulted my friend?" Elgin indicated Minder, floating behind him in his obvious armfulness. "What?" They were incredulous. "How can you insult anyone who's destroyed the handiwork of God?" "You called Minder a name, and you didn't allow him to do his job." He enjoyed their confusion. Their mission was so important, and he, one of their saints, was talking trivia. They didn't realize they were being tested. "He's my Minder, and I'd appreciate it if you would show him more respect." The woman looked as if she wanted to spit out some foul-tasting thing. The others produced a hubbub of anticipation, but the man was made of sterner stuff. This was why they let him be their leader. He adopted a tolerant posture, waved the others to silence, and said, "Of course. The saints instruct us that all people are due our love no matter what." He turned to Minder, getting the rest of them to follow suit, even the very plainly reluctant woman. "Sir," he said, "we are truly sorry for the way we behaved, and we beg for your forgiveness." The others, including the woman after a stare-down, also begged his forgiveness. The man smiled at Minder, looking proud of himself. Minder decided to back Elgin's play, whatever it was. "Your gesture is accepted. In the spirit it is given. Thank you."